The land that was sad will be happy again. Flowers will grow, the world will sing. Well, sort of. This Easter is not exactly how we hope to celebrate. We're so aware of the things we can't yet do, the care we must still take, hoping to avoid the worst of the third wave of the pandemic, yet to arrive in our area. But some among us have been vaccinated, and unlike last year, there are some here in person, and there is music sung by more than one person, recorded individually, but brought together in a community voice. Hopeful signs are appearing around us, signs of renewal and rebirth and renewed life. And that is what Easter is about, after all. We do ourselves a disservice when we celebrate Easter as a single day, as if it is possible to wake up one day and discover all has been restored. It's not how it happened on the first Easter. Hope and joy were a lot slower than that. Indeed, most of the Easter stories tell of people who are confused and afraid and wondering, even as they dared to imagine something new. When your whole world turns upside down, it takes more than a single day to put it all together. That's why I like the fact that we've been thinking about growing all of the Lenten season. Lawns and fields and gardens help us slow down, help grow our patience, because it teaches us about a slower kind of hope, a hope that can grow, that grows out of places that start with emptiness, places where we might just see signs of death. Think about the decay that is the face of the land outside right now, the dead grass and the leaves, all that is left over from the winter. The world is teaching us about the Easter message and what God can do with what others think is only worth rejecting. Flowers burst forth and teach us about the joy of rebirth. You know, the Easter lily in particular has special significance. It's been suggested that flowers that emerge from bulbs can remind us of the resurrection of Christ from the tomb. And legends have arisen over time suggesting that Easter lilies perhaps grew in the Garden of Gethsemane after Jesus spent the night praying there. Others say they appeared at the foot of the cross. They have become, for those who celebrate Easter, a symbol of the kind of life that can emerge from death. Gardens are full of those kinds of lessons, aren't they? Perhaps I could tell you another one. Maybe you've heard it. The origin story of these apples. Once upon a time, on the other side of the world, in a place called Australia, there was a woman named Maria Smith. She was a pioneer because she and her family moved to Australia from England in a time when not too many people lived there, like 1839. And they worked pretty hard because people had not really grown food on that land before. But they planted and they grew apples, pears, and vegetables and other kinds of fruit that they took to the Sydney market by horse and cart along rutted and muddy tracks or boat down by the Parramatta River. It would take the whole day for Maria to get to the market. She'd often travel by herself, which made the journey more difficult. And sometimes she'd bring her children with her. Maria gave birth to 16 babies. Many of them died, sadly. Only 6 of them grew up to be adults. And because she knew how hard it was to have babies and to help them grow, as her children grew older, she started to help other people. And she became a midwife. And she helped lots of other babies come into the world. Well, with her knowledge and her resourcefulness, she then helped moms look after their kids, and by the time she was 60 years old, pretty much everyone was calling her Granny. And one of the kids' favorite treats from Granny Smith were her pies. She made great pies: raspberry pies, cherry pies, peach pies, apple pies, even occasionally pear pies. And sometimes she would take some of those pies to the Sydney market with other produce that they grew. And one day, when Granny was at the market, one of the vendors gave her a box of French crab apples grown in Tasmania, with the promise of a pie in return when she next came to the market. And so Granny took the crab apples home, but was disappointed to discover that she could only use half of them. The rest had gone bad. But she was glad that she could use half of them, and so she took the peels and the cores and the bad apples to a compost pile near the creek at the end of the property. Well, some months later, Granny found a small apple seedling pushing its way through the rubbish pile. She transplanted it and carefully nurtured it to see what it might bear. She didn't expect much, maybe something that could feed the animals. But the special thing about apples is that every seedling has the remote possibility of growing something entirely new, special, a delicious apple. And what Granny found, when her little tree did eventually produce flowers and bear fruit, were beautiful green apples with a magnificent crunch, a refreshing tanginess, and superb keeping qualities. The world's very first crop of green eating apples. Granny Smith's apples soon became popular among others in the area, and when asked to explain how the tree grew, Granny would say, "Isn't that just like God, using the very stuff we chuck away to begin a new thing?" Well, you will maybe know that today Granny Smith apples are grown in Australia and in South Africa and New Zealand, in Argentina, United States, in France, and here in Canada. But I think that these apples can remind us of all the things that Granny brought to her life: care for children and community, experience and connection with our sustaining earth, and even more, they are a parable for Easter hope, a reminder how God brings life from death. So this Easter, let us continue to grow in hope. It may be slow, but there is joy in the Easter garden if we will be patient. Even now, God is doing new things with us. Thanks be to God.